Hi everybody, welcome back to the Vegas Hardbag channel. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than we normally do. I'm super excited. Our friends over at Diamond Audio reached out a couple of weeks ago. They said they got a brand new amplifier line coming out, and it's a small footprint, big power, built-in DSP, and today they showed up. I've got the test bench set up. I'm ready to rock and roll, so let's go check out and see what these guys are all about. When we're talking about motorcycle audio, space is a premium. Now, these amplifiers are designed for both the motorcycle and car and truck applications. So let's concentrate just on the motorcycle and let's just take a look at what it is. This is a 2-channel version of the Micro series, and we use this for a lot of things, and the 4-channel is just a little bit longer, so they keep the height the same, the height the same, the width the same, and then it just grows over time. These amplifiers do the same thing. So in order to fit all the new bikes, which is more important because they got tighter restraints than the 14 to 23s, let's take a look. The first thing we want to look at is I want to measure the overall height of this guy. So the overall height is going to give me the determination if it's going to fit with the fairing. There you go. So they're all the same height, the same as the old one. That means that 24-up road glide that has those little plastic fins right at the top of the vent, when you take the fairing off, you see, causes a lot of problem with the amp slide underneath there. That means when this amp is on the Vegas Hardbag mount that requires no cutting of that fairing, that means that fairing is going to go on. You don't have to modify those. Super, super cool on that. Very, very happy about that. Now let's check the width of it, because that's another important. We have to make sure that this goes back far enough so once again the fairing can go on those guys. And our width, and we have, it might be, it's 1/100th bigger, so we'll call it the same size. The width is the same size, so that's super awesome. That's going to get us everything we need in there. So right here is our plate off of our 24 road glide. I'm going to try the same chassis size as the 4-channel. We already know that's going to work because of the height and the width are the same, and I got plenty of room here, as you can see, left to right, even with these big plugs. Now, one of the things that they did to help with space is they've staggered these RCAs. So if they were all the same and you plugged in, you have this wad of RCAs. So now you can stagger them, and that's kind of cool. That's going to keep that wad of RCAs down. The other cool part is where they've mounted this with this pigtail, they have the mounting foot it comes out a little further than the actual amp itself. But they've made these wires so you can basically tuck them just to the edge of the mounting foot. So it can be pressed up, tied up against there. That's super cool. This side, however, got this crazy speaker plug depth, and in the 6-channel, I think it's even bigger. I mean, look, let me double check. Bam, bam, bam. It is the same depth as the 6-channel. 6-channel is just wider. They've done this to relieve some issues they had. The old one, the wires getting pulled out. However, I think they went a little too far with it, but we'll get back to that in a second. And then the power plug here is pretty cool because it's nice and tight. It clicks off, and it's tucked up underneath here pretty good. And then the wires can come out right there. So I give them kudos for that. That's pretty cool. I love that it has a disconnect like that as well. Now let's look at the 6-channel amplifier. We're going to put this guy on here. This is what scares me a little bit, because I was super excited when I saw this, because you have to understand, big power, small footprint with a built-in DSP, this solves a lot of problems. So let's look at the physical mounting, and we're going right to what I know that works, what we have available to us. No problem, we can get these tucked in over here, we can tuck this here, so we got our RCAs here that can do some different things. This side is a little tight, especially with this this speaker plug right here, because this is 1.25 inches. I've measured this earlier, and it's 1.25 inches, the overall plug that goes in, and it sticks out 1 inch from the amplifier edge. So that's kind of pretty big. I'm really concerned about tight fit on the road glide itself, on the 24 and ups. But I can also cut off these little relief cuts, and I could probably get a good 3/8 of an inch clearance more. I'm pretty sure just as it sits, it's going to be super tight, but it should fit. Now the Street Glide might be a little bit different of a stereo, and that's only on the 6-channel I meant. The 4-channel is not a problem. So if we look at the 6-channel, same kind of version on the new Street Glides, I am sticking out another 3/8 of an inch bigger than the Road Glide. This might be a problem. Won't know until I put it on a bike. But once again, that is the 6-channel version. If I'm going to the 4-channel version, I got plenty of room. But that's the overall size of the package. Okay, so here's how our test rig works up. I've got an actual car battery down there, power and everything, because that's kind of how you do it. I've got a standard single DIN Sony radio right here. I've got our test source, which is our iPad, or excuse me, our iPod mini that goes into test tones. We have a 1K test tone, -5 dB, which is pretty standard in the industry for setting up amplifier gains. And then we got our oscilloscope here that we're going to be reading out of the amplifier itself. And then we're going to use Ohm's law and mathematically figure out how much this amp puts out. Now, I understand there's test dynos and all that good stuff, but you still can't beat or prove Ohm's law wrong. It's been around since 1827. The gentleman that invented it is George Simon Ohm, and it's used in electrical and electronics and engineering until to this day, and it stands up to test of time because it is the mathematical. He's the one that figured it out. So we're going to be using that calculations that way. We don't need an amp dyno for it. So let's go ahead and let's figure out what this amplifier puts out. So I'm going to put my leads on here, and then I'm going to go into my software. The really cool part about the software is the gains are actually in the DSP software itself. So I'm going to go to the output options here, give you a quick little idea what's happening. These are our gain adjustments right here. And I'm going to leave these off for now because we do not need these. We're going to choose channels 1 and 2 for right now. That's what we're testing. All channels should be the same. I'm going to get out of that mixer. I've got the gains turned all the way down. I'm going to make sure that my master volume's all the way up. There's a reason for that. We'll talk about that later, the DSP part. So I'm going to make sure that I got my test tone on here. I'm going to go back to my mixer. And then I'm going to increase the gain level once I get the amp all the way up. I'm not showing anything on this display right now because it's too low in volume, so I'm going to turn about halfway up and see where we're at. So I got my frequency 1K right there, and my voltage will come up. It says ouch, it did not like seeing that right off the get-go. So let me turn these gain structure down a little bit. That gives me, oh, that's clear. So I'm going to say we're at 28.4. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. Let me scroll in a little bit here. See if you can see the 9.9, 28.49, and we're smooth on our graph. So now all we got to do is grab our Ohm's law here. And we are at 28.5. It fluctuates a little bit just by moving it. So it's 28.49. 28.49 divided by 4 for 4 ohms. We come up with 202 watts clean, zero distortion. 202 watts per channel clean. At a 2 ohm load, it should be 404 watts, but we'll double check our math. Divided by 2 for 2 ohms. 406 watts is that we're at. 405 watts and 84. So 405 watts at 2 ohms. That's pretty impressive. And then 202 watts. Wow. Very, very impressive. So that's 6 by 200 at 4 ohms, or 500 or 405 watts, or 404 because you got little things, but 405 watts at 2 ohms in all channels at 2 ohm stereo. Okay, I got the smaller block hooked up. We've turned the gains in the mixer. You can see that right there on the screen. We're about halfway there with our max volume out of our part. We're at 54.6 volts right there clean at our 40 hertz test tone. So we're looking for a subwoofer. So It's resetting this song. We are at 54.7 times 54.7 equals divided by 4. So at 4 ohms, that's 748 watts times 2 is 1496. So 1500 watts mono at 2 ohms. Super, super impressive. They say it plays down to 1 ohm, which is then going to double that number. Again, let me double check that to make sure. Why it's resetting. 54.9. Yep, so it's going to do 3000 watts mono. I don't believe it's going to do it because of the current itself, because the 8 gauge is probably a little then. But this is a powerhouse. This is pretty cool. 750, 1500, all day long, small footprint. That's going to be awesome to run subwoofers. And then I'm going to go ahead. I'm not going to test this because we're not going to really use this on bikes, but your big custom bikes would. This is their 2000 watt amplifier. So I'm going to say this is going to be close to 2000 watts because they're saying 1000 at 4 ohms. So this is going to do way more power than they said. This is probably getting in the 4K range at 1 ohm, probably 2K at 2 ohm, and then 1000 watts at 4 ohm is this going to be right here. So that's pretty cool. So that's our power output. Pretty impressive so far. So now let's dive into the DSP and walk over all the controls that it does. All right, so let's take a look at the DSP and all the functions. We're going to walk through it start to finish. I got the 6-channel amp hooked up. Let's look at the computer and see what that looks like in that user interface. So once you have it up, the first thing we're going to do is you got to select which amplifier you have. So we have the Neo 6-channel DSP, and that brings us right up to, it's going to show a car. They've told me that it possibly could do a bike later, but it doesn't really matter. We got speakers 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then 7 and 8, channel 7 and 8 right there at the bottom. Let me enlarge this screen a little bit, okay? We have our high pass frequency and our low pass frequency. Switch here, we got Butterworth, Bessel, and Lynx Riley. Easiest way to put it, there's just the flavor of that. Like, it's kind of like, how do I say this? It's the flavor of your Tootsie Rolls. You can get like 4 different variations. If you don't know, just leave it on Butterworth. It's the most popular one, plus it sounds good, right? It's really yummy, Butterworth, like stuff. Then we have our slope, 12 dB, 1824, all the way up to 48 dB, and you can turn that off. And what that means is that slope, if you have a 12 dB, when it crosses over, you can see this on the blue line right here. It's awfully slow. If I go all the way over to 48, it's going to be a wall. Like, that means it drops off hard. That gives you kind of an idea of the difference between the two slopes. It shows up and comes preset at 70 hertz. I wish it didn't do that. For mids and highs on a bike, that's not a problem. But if we're going to go through, I'd want to see that as 0, but it doesn't make a difference. So you can highlight it, and we can put, say, 50, for example, and it goes back to 70. I don't think you can, 50 hertz, enter. So you can change it just by highlighting it. That's pretty cool. It's easy to change, and that changes that guy right there. Then down here, we have our EQ reset. So if you have these, for example, all turned up here, and you decide, oh, I don't like all that, I can just hit EQ reset. You confirm it. That's going to drop that down right to flat. And then EQ restore, which allows you to put it down there. And this is our PEQ is right where we're at, okay? So before we get up here, let's talk a little bit about the specialness down here, because we're already on crossovers and everything. So if this allows me to boost or cut frequency. Now, technically, you're supposed to cut to every sound so everything stays at this volume and cut. The real world situation, you can go up to like 3 dB at the most boost. Otherwise, you need to cut everything else a little bit down. Then you have right here, so say I want this one adjusts on number 5, ID frequencies 50 hertz. Maybe I got a problem and I want it right at 48 hertz. And I want to put something right there. I can type in 48 hertz and that's going to make it strictly 48 hertz. And then the number below it's the Q. And this is something that I haven't seen before, which is pretty cool. The Q is also right here. And what the Q does and I'm going to boost this real quick so you guys can see it. So if I'm at a large Q right here where you can see where it says 28.825, if I put that back down to a 4.3, I can move this, right? The Q is how wide that frequency is, right? So low number means it's going to cover more frequency to the left and right of that frequency. And if it's just really a pinpoint frequency you're trying to do, I can make that Q super high on the number, like 28.5, and it's really going to correct just that one. Now it looks like we get 21 channels or 23 channels. How many channels we got here? 31 channels. Wow. 31. I didn't realize that before. 31 channels. How do I want to say this? We have 31 adjustments per channel, right? Is that how that works? So if I go to channel 2, I get 31 more channels, or 31 more frequencies. So it's a 31 band per channel DSP. Wow, that's cool. I didn't realize that the other day I was playing with it. 31 bands, guys. That's rad. Lots of customization you can do with that. All right, so that's down there. Sorry, I was caught off guard by that a little bit. That's really cool. Then up here, we got this dB to speaker output. I haven't quite figured out what's going on with the dB output, but if you click on the speaker, this is under channel 1, and that's under channel 2. What's going to happen is that guy is going to mute that channel, and that comes in really handy for tuning, so you can turn other channels off and only focus on the one that you're looking at. We're going to have some videos out later how to do that. So channels 1 and 2, if I click this right here, I can collect front, left, right, right? So that's why they're not labeled left and right. Your odd numbers, channels 1, 3, 5, and 6, or 1, 3, 5, and 7 are always going to be left, and then 2, 4, 6 is typically right. So you're going to label this front left, and then you can select, and what it's going to do if you do mid-range, it's going to give you a starting point of the crossover. So if that's front left mid-range, it's there. If I go front, left, and I go woofer, it's going to do the frequencies of the woofer. It gives you a good starting point. For us, when we're EQing, we're going to go front, left, and then full range, and that gives me the full bandwidth. So it depends what you're doing, and then you set your crossovers down here. It at least give you an idea of those frequency range. Now, also right here, there is... So they got terminology here that you might not see, like surround and center channel. That's going to be more for cars. Don't worry about that. There's a way to link these, which we're going to go to in a second. We have empty channel. I'm not sure what that does. I don't have a book, so I can't tell you. Reset the channel, and then channel link. So if I click channel link, copy left to right, confirm. So now channels 1 and 2, 3 and 4 are now copied. So if you do the frequency here on 1 and 2, they're going to be the same. So that's going to be for more of a quick adjustment that you want. Keep the crossovers the same. That can kind of really help you out. So you can go 3, 4, 5, 6. When you get an advanced DSP, you're going to want to reset the channels. And you don't want them linked. You want them separate. And I can go down here and I can EQ reset that. Then that line goes back up there. So that's pretty cool. You can, I would assume, if it got linked, let's link these real quick. I'm going to see if this is right. I'm going to say that, nope. So, empty channel. Not sure what the empty channel is. It's a really weird terminology. Never heard that before. So we'll get to that later. So we're unlinked here. This right here is our master volume, and that goes up and down. And we saw during the testing, we typically have that up. Once you have the DRC, the digital remote control they're coming out with later, that's going to adjust it down or up. So that's going to be your volume for that. Then clear at the top, we got presets. We got machine preset scene. We got scene on computer. We can load it. So that means I can save this and then reload it onto another DSP amplifier. I can save that screen once again, and then I can load the system scenario load and the system scenario save. So I can save it on this computer, and then I'm going to save it to the scenario to the amplifier when I'm done, or I can load it to the amplifier when I'm done. Options, we got language, We got 2 languages that most people can't speak, and then the imperial language of English. We got power on audio sort. We got default, so we can change that to analog. We'll get to that in a bit. Noise gate. This is super cool. So say this adjustment over here, say you're getting a lot of noise, some with your amplifier that doesn't, or excuse me, your head unit doesn't match or anything of that nature, you can decrease or increase that. That's a pretty neat feature I haven't seen yet in a DSP. Input voltage, this is our Bluetooth. Okay, because this DSP, I found this out after I started playing with it, actually has a Bluetooth piece into it, but we're going to get those in the settings a little bit later of what that does. But basically, it's got a built-in Bluetooth as well for music. Super cool. Not for presetting this. You still need a PC. Power saving mode, you can put that on there. Basically, what it is it can roll back some power at high volumes when it sees a low voltage, so it's called power saving. Delay switch on and off. This is super cool. Have you ever heard of a system that's got a pop when you turn it on and you turn it off where it's got a pop, the turn off pop, what they call? You can delay that. So what's happening is the radio is shutting down faster than the radio, and that turns a turn off pop on. So if you delay the amplifier to stay on after the radio, then you don't get that pop. And that's really cool that it's got on and off on that. Then it gives you software information, which is the version number, and then restore factory settings. So say you got in here and you made a bunch of things, you didn't like it, you can just go, hey, give me restore, I want to start over from scratch. That's what that is. The mixer is pretty cool. So these are channels up here. These are analog inputs 1, 2, 3, 4. And then these are the slider switches that turn them on off. And these are gain adjustments. They're not on the amplifier, they're actually on this. So if I wanted to do 5 and 6, I'm going to put this down here right here. So say I have all 6 inputs from my amplifiers 1 through 6. This is going to give the analog inputs, and then 7 and 8 are then my outputs up here. Those go output, right? Now say I only have channels of 1 and 2 input for everything. I just turn these guys off right here like this. And 3 and 4, and then you just cycle them this way. That means I only have 1 RCA input that allows me to adjust that. It means I won't have fader control. But on a bike, you typically don't need fader control, so you don't have to worry about that. That's super cool. Once again, these ones are turned on, so then my gains, I have independent gains for all channels going out, 7 and 8, 6 and 5 and 4. I have those gain outputs. From there, we got delay. So this is for time alignment. The best way to do that is by milliseconds or centimeters and inches, and you can increase this and decrease this. And like I said, we'll have a full tuning video up at some point soon, and you'll be able to see that. You can do that with a tape measure. And basically what a delay does is it allows every speaker to hit you at the same time, and that creates a proper sound stage for you. So it's going to delay the ones closest to you further than the furthest one away. So that's pretty automatic. That's pretty cool. And then we got firmware upgrades. So if we got the current firmware, this is where we're going to be able to do all those ones in the future when they have new outputs for firmware upgrade. And then we have here, we have analog and Bluetooth. And so what this is choosing is on startup, we can go to Bluetooth or analog. And what that means is hey, if I'm using this as a Bluetooth only piece and I don't have a DRC, I'm going to switch that to Bluetooth, and that's going to be how it works every time. Or if it's analog, means it's got an input to it. That's most likely where that's going to be. Rarely you're going to Bluetooth, but it's nice to have that flexibility. Other than that, that's it on the DSP. It is a really cool DSP, very easy to use, very easy to see. I love that I can put the numbers. I think that's really awesome. The downside is I don't like it comes pre-crossed over on the channels. It's 70 Hertz on everything, but it's not the end of the world. And I think that's just on full range. It still plays the music, but it cuts it way off. Because you're typically not running your 6-inch driver full range all the way down. So I get why they do it. Just normally see 0 to 0. So actually, you think about it, it's not a bad idea, because that's lower than when you're going to cross over your 6-inch speaker. It still plays down, but you're not going to hurt the driver. So that's it. I give you guys kudos for this. Very straightforward DSP, really cool to use. I see a lot of functions on this. I love that the gain adjustments are inside the amplifier on the DSP. That's under the mixer, so you'll be able to gain adjust in here. It might be a little scary for you if you don't know how to use a DSP, because now you don't have gain controls, you can mess this all up. I promise you we're going to have lots of videos on this because I really do like this setup on this amplifier. So we can show you guys on how to do that with some tooling and set things up. The neat thing I have for me, and I can see for us if we're going to be selling this on our website, is I can preset certain systems with everything inside of it, including a shop tune that Vegas Hardbags does. I think that's pretty cool. I can load that in the amplifier and we can get that out with your package. So that's pretty neat. All right, so that's the features on the DSP. Really cool stuff, very easy to use. It's packed full of the perfect features you need. I really like it. I was really shocked at the 31 bands per channel. Really shocked at that. That's super cool. Lots of adjustments on that, man. That's awesome. All right, that's it. So now let's get to some other features of the amplifier itself. The 6-channel amp in its system configuration gives you tons of flexibility, and that's why I like this format of an amplifier. 6 channels, I could do fairings, lowers, Turpack. I could do fairings, lower, bags. I could do fairing, bags, Turpack. It's endless. I can go fairing, bags, and mid-bass drivers or subwoofers in the back because this amplifier has enough power. So that's why I really like this format. This can stop having multiple cables in your bike, multiple products, so it saves down on weight, because if I was going to do traditional 2 amp with a DSP, that's going to add like 2 amps in a DSP. I got to find where all this has got to go, right? Where I have it under one format. That's what's really neat about the multi-channel amplifiers. And like I said, the 6-channel, besides just the depth of this plug, this size is great. I know it's going to fit the majority of the bikes out there. So this is really cool for system configuration. It's kind of a different way of looking at it. You got 6 channels, and the beautiful part about this amplifier is the power for those 6 channels with that DSP built in. So this is a pretty cool piece for system configuration. You have lots of flexibility. All right, guys, I just want to talk to you about a couple things, kind of wrap this up really quick. I want to make sure that you guys completely understand. I did this video. I didn't get paid for them. This takes a lot of time and energy to do this and cut the videos. I did this so you guys could see a selection of how we choose products we offer to our end consumer. It's just not flavor of the day. It's just not what's, price point that fits. We really truly look at products and how they benefit our customers. So we give this a 5-star. We're super excited about this. We're definitely adding this to our product mix. I want to tell you guys that we will be having at VegasHardbags.com. You'll be able to go on there. When you're watching this video, just go there right now. You can pre-order them. They'll be out in a few weeks. You can be the first ones to get them. We're going to have a video for everybody that does it. We'll probably do a live video for you guys. Not probably, let's just tell you this. We're going to pick a date for all the pre-sales. We're going to do a live video. We're going to show you guys how to tune some stuff DSP-wise to make it easier, that you're only going to get if you do the pre-sale. We'll do a private link for that. So that'll be fun. We're looking forward to that. And in the future, we're going to be able to put these with our packages, and you're going to be able to purchase them with it already pre-tuned with a full DSP tune. But that's going to be for the future. So go check it out at VegasHardbags.com. And please like and subscribe. It helps our channel grow and offer more videos like this. Until next time, stay safe, stay loud, and we'll catch you on the next one.